Hey there, everyone. This is Matt Curry. It's August 19th, 2014, and you're watching Becoming Great. Today, I just want to talk a little bit about how to write an outline. For this, I'm going to talk about how to write an outline for a paper. I've been doing it a little bit more. Outline writing is something that you pick up over time. It's a skill. It's definitely not a talent. I've been doing a lot of paper writing recently, so it's a little bit easier for me just to kind of say and list some examples for paper writing than it is for kind of other situations right now. So, that being said, when starting an outline, you need to know what you're writing the paper for and what you're writing the paper about. A great way to start writing papers is to look at the assignment itself. Oftentimes, at least with college level papers, they will ask you for certain situations, and a lot of times they'll give you the grading rubric on how it is graded. The way that you look and approach this is to say what is the grading about, what is the grading asking for, and let me list in that order the grade itself, or the situation itself. Let's take for example that the outline is talking about researching any company you want to think of. Might be Google, might be Apple, could be any group of situations. But for this example, we'll say it's just writing about a company. It just says write about a company, maybe their financial history, maybe their company history, maybe their volunteer work, anything you want to talk about. So rather than start and think, well, let me look up this company, let me look up this, that, the other thing, let me look to see what their history is. First, look at the rubric. And the rubric might say, give a good detailed list of the company and its highlights over the past 20 years. So that's going to be your first starting point in your paper. When you're writing the outline, you're going to say company history, limited to 20 years, and then your research will be within the past 20 years. Say you're looking up a company like Coca-Cola, you won't want to discuss the foundation of it, the way that they bought out other cola companies, the way that they changed their marketing strategy back in the 70s and 80s, because 20 years ago was still in the 90s and the 2000s. So you don't want to go so far in the past that you're not getting graded on it, and you're wasting your time and the professor's time in grading it. It's just irrelevant information. And then after the company history, you're going to talk about maybe the volunteer work that it does. So rather than go into the company history and then saying that this company does this for financial, they give aid to XYZ country, you can say that this company has A, B, and C foundations set up to feed the homeless, to restructure parks for children, to do A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, whatever it might be that the company does in order to benefit these people. So that's your number two. So rather than speak about something that might not be necessarily that might be good, like a company history, that might be something the company does, rather than speak about just something they do overseas, it might list one thing that they do domestically or in your township that this company does. So rather than list something that's broad, you actually have something specific that you can work towards. So on your outline, you're going to write company history, past 20 years. Then you're going to write the company, the way it gives back to the community, and you're going to list a couple of things that it gives back to the community. Then the third bullet point might actually be the way that shareholders might deal with the company, or might not like that, or another company that also does this. You're going to want to look up exactly what it's asking for and do that in the order it's presented. When the rubric will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these are all the criteria that you need to fulfill. Do it in that order. It makes the paper a lot easier to write. It makes the paper a lot easier to grade for the professor. And when that happens, you tend to get a better grade. I personally started off my college career thinking that every paper was going to be about my brilliant ideas and the way that I was going to change the world with what I had to say on paper. Oftentimes, these exercises are to actually benefit your knowledge in order for you to learn new things, in order for you to learn new things about things you already knew about, and expand your horizons and make it so you can effectively present it to other people in written form. The papers that you write in college are graded, or high school, or even at your work, are graded or looked at because of the fact that they need you to do a specific task. They don't need you to reinvent the wheel. They need you to gain knowledge. They need you to gain understanding about what you're learning about, but they also need you to be able to effectively communicate exactly what you are looking up and what you're communicating, what you are supposed to be communicating. If they give you a grading rubric and say you need to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you don't do H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P because you think that that's more interesting, that's a better paper. You are allowed to do that, or you're allowed to discuss those things in class or with your friends or even with the professor after class. These are all ways that you can discuss LMNOP, but the paper is calling for ABCD. So you need to actually write what is graded upon in order for you to get a good grade. So the way the outline works is you look to see exactly what you need to be graded on, and you make a little bulleted list, and underneath those bullets you just write a little bit of what you need to look up, or you look up the sources, and you type in the sources of where you were looking up this information. That way then when you go to actually write the paper, you will have a basic skeleton of exactly what you need. You will have the resources available that you already searched up to say that I need to have this resource for this topic, or I know about this topic so I don't need a resource for this, so I can just discuss it off the cuff. These are things that will help you be a better writer, help you achieve better grades, help you effectively communicate better, and will also be able to help you look up things in a more manageable time period. When I started to learn how to effectively write outlines, I found that me writing papers went from the course of about 7-8 hours spread out over time, or even 10 to 12 hours depending on how long the paper was, to me being able to write a 2 to 3 page paper within about 2 to 3 hours and get a very good grade on it. I was able to look up the information that was required a little bit easier. I was able to focus myself, and I was able to take the outline to the finished product a lot quicker than just to have a brainstorm saying, maybe I should look up this, maybe I should look up that, what exactly should I think about doing, writing all this down, and then finding out by the professor that these things were not needed. My grades got a lot better, and it became a lot easier to write the more I did it, and the more I found that doing exactly what is asked is better than going above and beyond when it comes to things of that nature. Instead of having 7 to 10 hours of writing a paper, when I cut down to 2 to 3, I spent that extra 4 or 5 hours doing other work, looking up things that interested me, and then bringing up those things in class or doing side discussions about them. It made it so that way then the way I wanted to speak about what I want to talk about didn't necessarily have to be graded in a paper. It was able for me to discuss it with other people and to learn a little bit more about things that I actually found interesting versus just the things that were in the paper, which aren't necessarily always that interesting. So that's how to write a proper outline. It's a quick little guide. I can always go through and do a half-hour to 45-minute presentation. If anyone would like to see that, please let me know. I would love to do it, but I'm not going to do it just for myself because I know how to do this. What I really want to know is, would you appreciate if I did this? Maybe make a interactive PowerPoint slide while I speak. Whatever the case might be. Just please let me know if you think that would be beneficial for you. So what I did today, it's August 19th, 2014. Today I just want to kind of get back into the swing of things. I took a little bit of time off over the weekend. I just did a little bit more homework for the class. There were some responses I needed to do for other people's discussions, And as I said, I not write an outline for even just discussions that I do in class because I want to look up things. I want to make sure that the points I get across are effectively communicated and the responses I have are well knowledgeable. I don't like speaking about things I don't know much about. It kind of brings me down. It doesn't make me feel as confident. So I like to look up things before I speak about them. So I looked up a couple of things, spoke to a couple of people about it in class, and it made more sense, and it was a nice discussion. I then took a little bit of extra time, did some German, and I'm glad I just took a little bit more into there. I finished up the one lesson plan that I was doing, and now I'm on to the next one. I also did a little bit of paperwork outside. I always make sure that my resume is updated, and I just sent out my resume to a couple places. It's never a bad thing to. I love where I work, and it's never a bad thing just to kind of see what's out there, see what people are saying. If nothing else, it gets my name out there, and it also gets, if I ever get any interviews, it keeps my interview skills a little bit fresher than doing it once every 4 or 5 years. It can be a little bit daunting when you do it once every 4 or 5 years. When you do it maybe once or twice a year, even if you're not interested in the job, it keeps you fresh, keeps you in the mindset of saying that if I ever needed to, I could get a job within 1 to 3 months. When you are looking for work, it can be a lot harder than when you already have work and you're not looking for it. So I just kind of looked at a couple places nearby. I just want to do a little bit of a side accounting work. I love giving back to the community, and there's a lot of places around here. It's something that has been very powerful with me since college. They taught me how to give back, and I want to make sure to give back where I can. So I sometimes volunteer my time. This is something where I'm just sending my resume out to say like, hey, I do this kind of work. Would you need my services in any sort of way as a part-time thing, paid or unpaid? I would just love to give back. It's a thing in my community that has influenced my life and influenced my family, and I just want to make sure to see if I can give back in any sort of way. So that being said, thank you very much for watching. If again you want to see a written outline or any type of help with outlines or a presentation for them, please let me know in the comments below. Other than that, thank you for staying tuned. This has been Matt Curry, and everybody have a good one.